Great, well, thanks very much everybody for coming along this morning. It's a very interesting topic that we have to explore. So today we're here in the Northside Civic Centre in Coolock, and the Northside Community Forum subgroup, the social policy subgroup, have organised an information session for members of the forum on the establishment of the Civil Partnership Bill. The intention is to put together a submission ourselves towards the bill once it's published in June, and to make sure that there's a proper input from the people on the ground into this piece of legislation. So we have three excellent speakers, Ivana Bacik, Roderick Gorman and Fergus Ryan, who are all involved in law, all involved in fighting cases similar to this, and all three of them also lecture in law.
In practical sense is that we've seen heads of a bill introduced, and I have those, the general scheme of the Civil Partnership Bill, which was published in June 2008. Fergus is going to talk more about it. It's 170 pages long. It only sets, at this stage, it's just a scheme, which means we don't yet have the actual bill. A bill, as you know, is the the thing that we actually debate in Parliament, and it then becomes an act if it's passed by both houses of the Oireachtas and signed by the President. It becomes an act. But this is this is earlier even than a bill. This is just a set of principles that might ultimately be in the bill, that might ultimately become an act.
My name is Fergus Ryan. I'm the head of the Department of Law at the Dublin Institute of Technology in Ainger Street, and I'm in my particular area of law that I'm interested in is family law and constitutional law. So my particular interest in this area would very much be from a family law perspective. I've been studying and I suppose researching family law and teaching family law for a very long time, so that would be my particular interest in the area. And I've also spoken and written on the area of I suppose non-traditional families and families that don't meet the traditional mould, if you like, for a number of years. And in particular I've written on the Civil Partnership Bill, or the scheme of the Civil Partnership Bill, in a couple of publications. That's my particular interest in the area. Parents are already living in relationships with people of the same sex in circumstances where they have children either conceived within that relationship by virtue of an arrangement, or alternatively conceived in a previous relationship. And to put the situation in a nutshell, the problem is that the biological parent obviously has full rights and obligations, but the non-biological parent who may be looking after that child on a day-to-day basis has no rights, and indeed, this is very important, no obligations towards that child. And so if the relationship breaks up, the non-biological parent, the person who may be looking after that child for several years, has no legal obligations, no financial obligations to the child. The child cannot claim from the estate of that person if they die without making a will. They can make no claim on the estate of the individual. So there's no recognition of that relationship. And while I think this is a complex issue, and it's obviously a controversial issue, I think that the legislation is really sidestepping it, and it needs to tackle that issue, because these are perhaps the most vulnerable category of same-sex families, or families led by same-sex couples, are those that have children. And
I suppose the core concern, whether you're talking about a heterosexual or a homosexual couple, is that there are no provisions for them in the event that A, the relationship breaks down, or B, one of the partners dies. There's very, very limited provision there as regards, not even before we look at the issue of children, look at the issue of inheritance, look at taxation, look at maintenance, all those things. If you have a situation such as the case NSV Butterley, where the man or the woman acted in a certain way, gave up their career, and on the assumption that they would always be looked after, and all of a sudden that kind of safety net, because the relationship has broken down, that safety net isn't there. That is a real problem. And whereas in the case of marriage, where you have judicial separation or divorce, and the courts can enter in and set out what are the responsibilities of the various parties, that doesn't exist for non-married couples as it is. And that's the core reason, I suppose, why this is relevant to heterosexual couples as well as to same-sex couples, because I suppose the key problem for same-sex couples is that they're looking for access to the institution of marriage or some other institution. They don't have a choice. Heterosexual couples do have a choice to decide to get married, but I think people are entitled not to exercise that choice if they so wish, and there should be some provision for them in law to regulate their affairs. I suppose I came here today because I feel that Civil Partnership Bill, it's going to have implications for a wide range of people, both same-sex couples but also opposite-sex same-sex couples who aren't currently married. And I'm not sure how much knowledge is available in the public about these issues. The bill is it's only in its first draft stage at the moment. There will be more work done on it over the next few months. I think it's important that people understand the implications of what's being proposed by the government, to allow them lobby their TDs, their senators, and influence the content of the bill if they feel there's aspects that shouldn't be in it, or things that actually should be in it and aren't there at the moment.
The event today has been organised by the Social Policy Group of the Northside Community Forum. The forum, as you can see, is made up of 50 local organisations who come together to work on issues that are of mutual kind of importance or concern to them. The Social Policy Group has been set up to look at certain policy issues that are happening maybe at government level that might have an impact on either community organisations or the people who live in our communities. So what we've done today is we've brought a couple of speakers out to speak on the Civil Partnership Bill. There's an awful lot of people who we feel might know too much about it. An awful lot of childcare providers and creches in the area who may have parents who are bringing their kids to the creche who may not know about what is contained in the bill. So that's partly the reason. Also, we just feel it's an important issue in general that people should be kind of talking about and getting to know more about. So that's what we've decided to do today.
My name is Cristina Santamaria, and from the Northside Citizens Information Service, and I'm here today representing the organisation, and my interest would be very much from a personal point of view, because I will be living in a cohabiting relationship, but also from the point of view of the people that we actually work with from this disinformation perspective. The lack of information that is there with regards to the Civil Partnership Bill and what is actually proposing, what is requiring, and what is actually pushing forward. I think in Coolock we have a community that is actually very much based on cohabiting relationship, one-parent families, and kind of as Fergus Ryan was talking about earlier on, the fact that a lot of people actually live outside what is considered traditional family setup.
People do need to know what their rights and obligations are, so they understand what it is they're signing up to, and so that they can make a serious decision. The problem, I think, with the cohabitation measures is that whether you know what you're signing up to or not, this is the separate part of the scheme that deals with cohabiting couples, is that legislation will apply to you regardless of whether you want it to or not. You can opt out of some of the measures, and that's why knowing what the legislation does is important. But I do think there's perhaps a difficulty in that, because both of the schemes, Civil Partnership Scheme for same-sex couples and the cohabiting scheme for cohabitants who are not married or in a civil partnership, because they're both being run together, a lot of the emphasis is on civil partnership, because it's probably the more it's the more controversial aspect of the legislation. Very important, obviously, but it may be it attracts more interest. It's an equally important thing to look at the cohabitation scheme, because the cohabitation scheme places significant obligations on individuals, and you may not know about it till you get to court.